I'm very fortunate to have a beautiful working relationship with the company Ernie Ball, who take very good care of me and mine, and it allows me to. Whereas in my earlier years, it would be until a string broke. That would be the answer.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now I'm able to sound bright and clean all the time.
That's awesome.
But I play 12s.
Okay. What
So I've got crazy calluses.
Strong hands.
Strong hands.
Evan Weiss today, everybody. At Coffee and Riffs, and
Greetings, friends.
we're drinking some Dogma blend.
Who makes that?
Dogma.
Who makes that coffee?
Dogma, and this is actually that special visitor brew that comes with the first 25 visitor pedals purchased at Chicago. It's not an ad, but Coffee and Riffs with Evan Weiss. When's your birthday, Evan?
September 27th.
1984. 4.
Libra 2. Until
What
recently.
do you guys think are the defining characteristics for Libras?
We are. Yeah, we're always looking. Yeah, that's true. We seek balance in most things. We play devil's advocate often. We enjoy art and culture, and we're very poor at managing our money. We like to spend on things and experiences. We like to travel. We fear commitment, but at the end of the day, we're looking out for balance at all things.
Evan, stop.
Sorry, man.
It. Evan, what was your first guitar pedal?
It was a Mutron Biphase 2, and it was my dad's. My dad played synthesizers in funk bands in the 70s and 80s.
What happened to that pedal?
I used it, and then I think it wound up going to the practice space of my band, which was from elementary, middle, and high school, and then the things just disappear.
You got eaten up.
Yeah, I think it broke eventually.
Yeah.
And this was, when you're young and something like that breaks, you're like, well,
Yeah.
I'll never be able to get this fixed. That's just the end of that.
Yeah.
Probably just got thrown away. I had that and a Marshall Blues Breaker, like the old big box enclosure ones. But then after that, I just used tuners only for almost 2 decades.
Were you using amp,
Yeah.
2-channel amps or anything?
So I played bass in all of my bands before.
Oh, okay.
And I never needed pedals for that. And then when I started doing Into It Over It, all of the first records have no effects on them except amp distortion. All 52 weeks and 12 towns and proper and the Koji split, all of that material has no effects pedals on it.
That's crazy.
In fact, all of it was, if there were effects on stuff, it was all through like plugins or after effects from during the mixing process.
Yeah.
But then shortly after I moved to Chicago, I bought a Softtech MiG 100, and that became the amp for all that time. Before that, it was a Music Man HD 130, and actually, I did use effects because there's a great reverb and tremolo on the Music Man HD 130.
Okay.
So I used the on-amp tremolo all the time. It's such a good trem, and but that was it. That was all I ever used. I never used pedals at all. And then we made Intersections, and even on that record, there's no effects pedals on it, but there was a lot of amp effects and plug-in stuff. And then I had to figure out how to start doing that live, and that was when I started getting into pedals.
So what was the first one there?
It would have been.
What's the most memorable one that you had to get around that season of life?
I think I had I had a carbon copy, and then I used a Ernie Ball MVP because you could dial in some additional gain, and then I had a Loud Louder, which I use as my boost, a Chatterbox Loud Louder, and then I have What did I use as my drive? Maybe a sugar drive? This is like very early on.
Who's that? Oh, I'm serious.
Or not sugar drive. I'm sorry, a soul food.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Soul
gotcha.
food. Sugar drive is MXR, but
That's
now
what I was-
I fuck
okay.
with the sugar drive. But then I just had a soul food.
Gotcha.
And even then we didn't really use a ton of pedals live. But like following standards, that was when we wrote that record. I brought everything that me and our guitar player Josh had to. We wrote that record in a cabin in Vermont for a month. And I just had basically everything we owned. So a couple different tremolos, a couple different reverbs. I remember the Verbzilla being a pedal that I used a lot, the Line 6
Yeah.
Verbzilla.
It's a popular one.
Um,
Only hear good things.
Used my Space Echo. I have a Roland RE201. And then we went to San Francisco to make that record. And this dude, John Vanderslice, who we made that record with, got me really into like the Lexicon PCM and PCM41 and PCM42, the Ibanez AD202, the Lexicon Primetime, the Lexicon Super Primetime. There was a ton of outboard rack gear that got used on that record.
Yeah.
And he also had a couple real clones. And so all of the electric guitar on that record is actually 2 clones stacked into a Fender Champ.
Dang.
Yeah. Both dimed, like 2
Yeah.
dimed stacked clones into a Fender Champ. So, like any distorted guitar, it was that. So I came home and I got PCEFX they do this thing called the Aluminum Falcon. It's just a clone, but I got them to make me 2 clones in one. And I actually sent it to them to be repaired, and they've ghosted me.
So we have to cut all that.
Yeah, sorry. None of this is interesting so far. I never had a relationship with the guitar pedals really until I was in my late 20s, early 30s, and that's when I dove really into it. And then when I started working at Reverb, I really dove into it.
Yeah.
So now, even then, my relationship with it is still not as detailed as most people's. I feel like sometimes I'm faking it a little bit because I'm a big fan of plugging in and just being able to find something useful and cool right away.
Yeah. I agree with that.
I don't like to go on the hunt. So there are some pedals that are just too deep for me, and no matter how cool I think they are, which I will definitely think they're super cool, if I can't immediately get a great sound, it may not be for me.
I concur with that.
Have we said anything that you can use at this point?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, it doesn't have to be all A+. I don't know. What do you think about these?
Well, I'm a huge fan of these 3, which these were all over my new record. And then I do love the XS, but I'm not much of a chorus person, so I usually use the delay function. Then I should have grabbed the flat light instead of the reflector because I'm more familiar with the flat light. And this is the first time I've ever played a Procession, was today.
That's interesting.
Yeah. And then I love the Synth One and I love the Fuzzbender,
Yeah.
but they aren't pedals that are applicable to what I do creatively.
I could see that.
So these were things that I pulled out just to try for funsies. But yeah, I'm a big delay and tremolo person. Actually, a huge tremolo person. It's probably my favorite effect.
I knew that about you.
I'm a trem boy.
Do you like harmonic tremolo or regular tremolo better?
I've never met a tremolo I didn't like. That totally doesn't even answer your question.
What about Boss TR2?
I'm a big fan.
What about Boss TR1?
Does that exist?
There's
to,
a
right?
2. Yeah.
Just because there's 2 doesn't mean there's 1.
There's definitely a 1.
Well, then I'd probably like it.
What's another
I don't
tremolo?
think I've tried it.
Pan
Pan
trim.
I like the Shapeshifter. I usually am a big fan of amp tremolo, though.
Yeah.
I have a Gibson Discover and a Gibson Skylark, and I really like those 2 trims a lot. And I have not tried that. Yeah.
Tremulescence from
Yeah.
Dr. Scientist. That one's super cool.
I haven't dove into that one either. Right now, the current pedal that I'm using a lot is the Milkman F-Stop, which is really fun. Just because it's basically the functions of a deluxe or a twin in a pedal, and it's really easy. Yeah. And they stack really nicely together. They sound really good.
That's cool.
Big fan of that. And so that and the Whitecap are on my board right now.
That's interesting to have 2 tremolos on there.
Well, because
yeah.
I use the digital. I use the digital one for one because I needed like a really sharp, choppy, like kind of helicopter trem, and then I use the f-stop for the warm,
Cool. More sounding.
like amp sounding trem.
Mm-hmm.
And then they stack super well.
Evan,
How do you feel about tremolo?
I like tremolo.
I mean, obviously, right? You put one out this year.
I like
Last
it.
year.
Last year. I like it. I like pedals. Some days more than others. Some days I don't like them.
What's your least favorite effect?
I love you. Thanks for joining us. Evan Weiss.
Whatever.
Evan, thanks for joining us. Evan from Into It Over It, and Pet Symmetry.
And there.
Pet Cemeteries.
Symmetry.
Symmetry. That's it. That's what I said the first time.
Symmetry.
And
But I play bass on that.
They're
Yeah.
there. But you play bass on that one too.
I play bass on that one also, yeah.
Yeah.
And if you wanted to know the pedals for that, it's a louder and a fuzzrocious fuzz.
Oh, that's cool.
Ryan and I grew up like 2 towns away from each other, so I think I have fuzzrocious number 3.
Ryan's a sweet guy.
Yeah, great guy.
There was the first time I ever saw you, met you. Didn't meet you actually. I just watched you play.
I had the flu at that show.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. I slept until I woke up.
Nice.
Or rather, got to the club, fell asleep, woke up, walked on stage, played, went back, fell asleep.
Yeah.
I slept until I woke up.
I slept until I woke up.
That's
Haven't
every
done
day.
that in a long time. All right.
Get me out of here.
Get out of here.
Get out of here. I'm going home.